I just want to share a story with you from the Daily Telegraph's website. The BBC has been overtaken by YouTube for the first time, signalling the end of the corporation's near century of dominance of entertainment in Britain, the newspaper says. YouTube now attracts a larger audience than all of the BBC's channels combined, according to the officials ratings agency Barb. Almost 52 million people watched YouTube on their televisions, smartphones and laptops in December, compared with the 50.8 million Britons who tuned in to the BBC. I suppose the first surprise is that nearly 51 million people tuned into the BBC last month. What he doesn't say in the newspaper report is for how long. So perhaps someone tuned into the BBC for half an hour and that is recorded in the figures for the month. In which case, I could probably, I think, put my hands up and plead guilty to that one. But what I do know is that people are watching YouTube for much longer periods of time. And it's hardly surprising why, when you look at the range of stuff that's on offer there. You get news and you get opinion, things that I'm interested in. I'm also interested in history, in documentaries. And there's plenty of that on YouTube as well. I'm also a cricket fan, and I can watch county championship live streams on YouTube free of charge. There's also entertainment on there. There's all sorts of things on there. And I'm sure that you who are watching this now watch all sorts of different types of things. So that doesn't surprise me. And I have been campaigning for an end to the television license for over a decade. I've been continuously saying throughout that time that the BBC is clinging on to an analogue funding system in a digital world. And I stick by that because it really is. I've also predicted over the last 10 years that there will come a time when YouTube will overtake all the terrestrial channels in the UK, and it looks like that is happening. And they're not going to catch up again. Let's be quite honest about that. They're not going to catch up again. YouTube, and perhaps a successor to YouTube in the future, is just going to race ahead, whereas the terrestrial channels in the UK and throughout the world are just going to fall behind. Because when you think about it, why do we need live TV? We need it for news and current affairs. People will say, yeah, I agree with that. Live sport. Yeah, you've got to watch your sport live, haven't you? So that's what people want. So yes, there's always room for live sport. And then there are major events, national events. The funeral of Her Late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, for example. And then the coronation of our King. Yes, people want to watch those things live. So there's always got to be room for some live broadcasting. But do you really need to watch EastEnders live? Do you need to watch Coronation Street live? Do you need to watch any of these things live? And indeed, how many people do watch these things live? So the world is changing. So my message to the BBC is you are clinging on to an analogue funding system in a digital world. We all consume content in a completely different way. We don't all look at the TV listings and the radio times or the TV times and wonder what's on a Saturday evening. We don't just have 3 or 4 channels to watch. All of that has completely changed. And if the BBC wants to remain relevant, it's going to have to be a much smaller organisation. And what it does, it's going to have to do extremely well. Because in 10 or 20 years, the BBC will simply cease to exist unless it adapts.